the still unknown relationship between what we call the unconscious psyche and what we call matter, a mystery with which psychosomatic medicine endeavors to grapple. In studying this still undefined and unexplained connection, it may prove to be that psyche and matter are actually the same phenomenon, one observed from within and the other from without. Dr. Jung put forward a new concept that he called synchronicity. This term means a meaningful coincidence of outer and inner events that are not themselves causally connected. The emphasis lies on the word meaningful.
Say, for example, if we roll the number 4, and the moment we roll that, the number 4 bus starts to pass. We either follow the bus immediately, or if the bus stops at the bus stop, we all pile onto the bus and just, then roll the dice again. And if it's like a 5, then we'll go 5 bus stops before we get off again.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Mr. Todd Acamesis a little bit later about synchronicities and all sorts of great stuff. We talk about his synchro walks in London, which are a great time. I think I give out a 10. Do I give out a 10 on this motherfucker?
No, I think it was close.
It was close. Yeah. No, it was a 9, maybe a 9 point something. It's a high score. Someone got a high score.
And then the mind spa. It's got the mind spa.
Yeah, that's right. Grabs a little wet dream. Didn't you have the mind spa idea?
No.
Anyway, across from here, we got the one and only Graham Caricature Dunlop.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. How'd you like your caricature? Head over to grimerica.ca. Guys, check out the new website.
Your legs were too hairy.
Down at the bottom, you have our new caricatures drawn by the one and only Red Pill Junkie.
Thanks, Red.
Yeah, and thanks to me for redoing the site. Have we talked about that yet? I think it's done now. It's done.
No, you can't search, though. Why is there no search on there? Every time I go there to search for stuff to put in the show notes, I can't even find it. Search button.
Well, then. I'll add a search down at the bottom.
My sister pointed that out, too.
Did she?
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone used that.
I know.
Except for you. If it's just you, then... Well, I can add a search widget.
Don't you ever search who searched for what on our site? Because I used to search some funny names just so you'd look it up, because I thought you were watching that.
No, I don't.
Like no. Darren is gay.
No.
Or not gay. I didn't use gay.
No, there's anything wrong with that. No, I don't ever check anything to do with the website. No. And if I'm actually, sometimes I will need to, because someone will want to know the link for a certain episode. And if it's back before I started making the links easy to track, then I'll just search. I'll just type Grimerica
in Google.
Yeah, Grimerica something in Google.
That's a good point.
Grimerica, whatever.
Yeah, why search the site when you can just search Google?
Yeah.
And it's probably the first one that pops up anyways.
Till we get blacklisted.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure will happen, but that's okay. I mean, we're fully prepared to self-host if we need to. Luckily with James, we've got that option. If we ever get turned off, we can just turn back on. I know there's about half a dozen or a dozen people that have running backups of the show.
Well, thanks to all the listeners for supporting our monthly expenses so we can actually do this kind of stuff, right? We have fixed expenses in here for like the website and the podcast hosting and all that stuff. And now that's covered by you guys. So thanks for doing that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do the show.
Nah, we would have given up by now.
Yeah, I really do think so.
Yeah.
And if you support the show...
Sometimes I think about giving up. Every day it crosses my mind.
any dollar amount gets you the Black Budget support feed, which we've got actually an episode. When this comes out, there'll be a new episode in the Black Budget support feed. So it's a bunch of extra, sort of more controversial, different types of content. It's a different thing. But there's more content there. A couple shows a month. And I think there'll be one in there shortly before or after this episode comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, probably before.
Yeah.
It's probably in there already. So if you subscribe right now...
It's probably going to be with Alex Sakaris from Skeptical and Red Pill Junkie.
Now that I'm caught up, usually if you get a new subscriber, you probably get the new link within a couple of hours.
Right, so let's explain that.
To a bunch of shows you never heard before.
Yeah, so how many we have?
And stop using fucking FM Player. Because every time you guys go to FM Player and enter the feed, it fucking makes it publicly available to everyone, and I have to call them a bitch, and they have to shut it off.
This is happening again?
It seems like FM Player and Castro FM or something like that. So it seems like if your pod player has FM in the title, find a new fucking pod player.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could see why they do it. I mean, we have a pretty backwards way of doing it. Just because I know like MU and Expanded Perspectives and all those guys end up paying money and they'll do this whole password protected RSS feeds things. And I just don't care to get into that. You know, it's not that.
But the problem is, so the difference being you have to manually send out the link to people that donate. So when people donate in, every day Darren sends the link out, and then you just copy and paste that URL into your podcast player.
That's right. Preferably not with FM in the title.
Yeah.
And now you got all the Black Budget episodes.
Yeah.
Actually, they both took it down right away as soon as I messaged them. But the thing is, I have no way of even knowing they're there until someone tells me.
Yeah.
Not that I really care that much, but, you know.
No, but it's
not fair to the supporters if other people are getting it for free.
And people support the show, and we wanted to put out some extra content, and we had some extra content, so we thought we'd do that and help people, reach, and it would help us actually just get more subscribers. That's what we were hoping as well.
We were hoping
to start budgeting for things and improving things.
That's right. All sorts of fun stuff we can do.
Yep.
And we can't do it without the help of guys like you and gals. So check out grimerica.ca/support. Sign up for a monthly. There's everything there from $1 a month to $33 a month. If you want to do more or less or something in between, let me know and I'll email you a custom one.
Yep.
There's a box there that you can do a one-time donation, of course. I did make a Patreon account. I'm not sure what the URL is. I think it's in the show notes.
Oh, I don't know if we put that in the show notes.
We should put it in the show notes. I don't think we have any Patreons yet. To be honest, I don't care if we ever get any. But I would like more supporters.
It's hard because we had problems with our guest the other day who couldn't donate from Japan because of PayPal.
Yeah, that's right. But he was able to subscribe.
Oh.
To a monthly.
Okay.
So, but yeah, let me know. We can always use Patreon or something like that. Yeah. I think Patreon's the only other real alternative at this point. We can also just send a check or something.
Yeah, all the other stuff's in the show notes, like contact, Twitter, Instagram, emails, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. And if you can't afford to support the show monetarily, we understand that as well. You can review the show, share the show.
Send in some jingles.
You can send in some art that we can use in the store or for past episodes. I did get some emails asking about episodes. So all our current art for new episodes is done.
Not all of it, but right now it is.
Oh, yeah, right now it is. Like, right now we don't need art for new episodes. That's all done by NAP, and we're not going to change that.
Yeah.
But there is, I I could get you the exact number, but there's something like 100 and some, I think there's 100 and some episodes before we started doing custom art. So anything before that, I'd like to eventually change everything out so that everything we have is custom art. So I think there's, I don't want to go through it now. I think, like I say, I think it starts around 100. Mm-hmm. Everything before that, if you're not sure, you can email me and say, hey, I want to do this episode, and I'll let you know if we have art for it. But I want to say from 0 to 100, we could use custom art.
Mm-hmm.
But any new episodes, don't bother, because we got an app.
Yep. So how's your...
And that's just too good to bother changing it. No offense to... I'm not saying that...
No.
I'm not saying that people that... NAP's a part of the team, so we're not going to stray away from that. Unless you get sick of it. Speaking of jingles...
There are internet trolls everywhere I scroll. There are trolls. The trolls are out of control. Trolls everywhere I scroll. Internet trolls. They're out of control.
That's our new troll jingle from the King of Jingles.
Nice.
Not the King of Shingles. Don't be a troll and support the show. Right. Jingles count. If you send me some good jingles, I'll send you the link.
Yeah, there's another one I'm waiting to hear, but I haven't heard yet that I emailed you. I forwarded it to you.
There was no attachment.
No, the one before that. I'll remind you. It's okay. The problem is when I email Darren, he doesn't really...
I read the one that you said, please at least read this.
Actually...
You just put that in the subject line every time you got my attention. I actually felt bad for a sec.
Actually, if you have a jingle and you want it to be heard, then it should come from you directly to Darren, and his email is in the show notes and on the website as well. Otherwise, you're relying on me to forward it to him and then for him to ignore my email.
Did you see in the bios that they both say you spam him at graham@grimerica.com? Now I'm looking for the one with the attachment. Because it was from Crazy Ryan, right?
Anyways, how was your trip?
It was good.
So you went down to the Eclipse?
Yes.
And you met Garrett down there?
I did. I met
you got your didgeridoo? Weren't you going to play me a little?
Oh, I was going to go get the didgeridoo. Yeah, that means you're going to have to keep talking. I don't fucking have an attached...
Okay, I'll send it to you later. Don't look now.
I'll be back.
Are you going? Really?
What are you going to do?
You want me to do the UFO quote or something while you're gone?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me find a jingle for you. And I don't have to... Or do you have a weather segment? That'd be perfect.
No, I'm not doing that now.
Then I could just take off.
No.
Darren and Graham are going deep. It's a profound UFO quote of the week. Words to ponder and critique. It's a profound UFO quote of the week.
All right, so this is a good one. I am not a specialist on UFOs, and therefore I can only correlate the data and express my own supposition. As General Igor Maltsev in the newspaper Robochoya Tribune, and that's, who knows how to pronounce that. That was from April 19th, 2005. Now, General Igor Maltsev reported that he had reports of more than 100 visual observations compiled by commanders of several air defense units of Moscow military district of a UFO, which has been seen in the area of, this is going to be impossible, Pereslav Zalisky in the northeast of Moscow on March 21st, 1990. So he's accumulated like 100 visual observations.
100?
Yeah, over more than 100. So Maltsev included with this report to the newspaper 5 testimonials, including a report by a pilot who flew over the object and a report from the ground radar tracking station. The pilot saw only 2 lights and a dimly perceived silhouette of the object against city lights. The radar station reported a sighting of a rapidly moving, shiny object with red lights and another with white lights that followed the first. The report included times, azimuths, and distances of the reported objects. There you have it.
There you have it. Bingo bango.
You're back.
As they say. So yeah, the trip was good. I went down. I seen the eclipse. Traffic getting there wasn't bad. We got a great spot. There was only us and an old couple from Seattle at the end of County Road 10 outside of Longview.
So you found, like, you go down the main roads and you find your little off-roads?
Yeah, that's right.
And with like a clearing or something like that where you can...
Yep. Set up chairs. There was no through roads. There was no real traffic. The kids could play and ride around on their bikes a little bit. But we sat and waited because we were there, I want to say, probably about an hour and a half early.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting, and it was early in the morning, too. I mean, it started 9:30, but we got to our spot around 8. We left the hotel around 5.
To make sure?
Yeah, just to make sure. Like, our whole hotel, the lady at the front desk said the entire hotel was there for the eclipse. And every hotel in town was booked. So, I mean, like, it was a steady stream of traffic in the morning. It wasn't like we had the highway to ourselves. It was just moving. It was a steady stream of traffic, moving, not stopping. So, yeah, we did that, got down there, waited. Wasn't a letdown at all. We had great weather. No clouds, not a cloud in the sky. So we watched the eclipse come in, got our minute and a half or so of totality.
Did you get some video?
I haven't gone through the GoPro stuff yet. I sent you the great picture Lisa got.
Yeah, that was her picture? Wow, yeah. That was good, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, the pictures, Ephraim had the best quote, because I seen him later in the trip, was that...
You saw him?
Either seen him.
You saw him?
Seen? Saw?
Saw.
Isn't it seen? Past tense?
Saw. It's okay. It's a Northern Ontario thing.
Agree to disagree.
It's part of what makes the good Canadian accent.
So his quote was just, if you missed it, you missed it. You know, there's not enough pictures or videos or anything in the world to really...
Oh, really?
To really... And I would agree with him 100%. And I would imagine any one of our listeners who's seen the totality...
Totality?
The totality?
Is that more than the totality of the totality?
The totality. That's like a step above.
I'm just trying to make fun of you like you do.
I see it. You're really trying, really digging deep, but you're just scrambling. Scrambling Graham. So yeah, I don't think, no, I'd encourage, if you have the opportunity, to check it out, because it was super profound and pretty much indescribable. Like, there's heat implications, the shadowing is like nothing you've ever seen. The lack of light, so you can start to see, say, like a single sort of blade of grass, or like, you know, those weeds that kind of look like wheat.
Yeah.
That you'd normally never be able to see the shadow of, because there's just too much sunlight bouncing off everything. But like, and you can even start to notice in your own shadow as it gets darker, your fingers, you can start to play with your shadow a little bit more, because the point of light becomes more focused. So, I mean, it's hard to describe, but you can notice it in all the shadows.
Can you see the edge of light, like moving, like...
Can you see it coming, like the shadow?
Yeah, no, not really.
You got to think it crosses the continental USA from its longest border to, you know, coast to coast is a long way, and in like an hour and a half, it's fucking flying.
So it gets dark too, right?
It gets dark, yeah. And it's a weird sort of dark, because it's dark when with sunrise or sun setting in every direction. Because you're in the middle of, say, a 40 or 50 mile bubble of darkness, so you can see light in every direction. Especially where we were, as big sky country, so you can see a long ways in every direction. So you could see, like, I have a panorama picture where you can see a ribbon of light in every direction, but you're in darkness. And as it starts coming in, the first thing you notice is the heat.
So wait. You're seeing the ribbon of light. So I was trying to figure out what that picture was, and I get it. But that ribbon of light is the light outside the darkness?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, the first thing you notice is the heat, because I mean, when it gets down, like, I bet you it's at 95%. And you could kind of tell, if you were really paying attention, that there's a change in the light around you. But it'd be hard to...
Well, we felt that in Calgary. There's a bit of a change here.
It'd be hard to notice if you weren't directly looking for it.
Yeah.
But once it gets, like, you notice the heat. Like, I don't know if you notice that here, but once it gets like 99%, we were in a super hot place. It went up to about 35 degrees that day.
Nice.
And it went from hot to like cool. Lisa had to go get a sweater because the heat from the sun. But I mean, it's down to that last sliver. It's probably 98, 99%. And you take off your glasses for a second and it's still fucking bright. Like, you look at the sun and you can't tell that the whole sun's not there. I think there's different tricks with, putting it through holes so you can see it. But if it was a couple 100 years ago, you'd have no way of knowing until that second where it goes dark, which I guess technically happened 8 minutes ago.
No. You would tell. We could tell here by the naked eye that it was too bright, that it was weird. So you would be able to tell.
But you can't tell by looking at. You can't tell by looking at the sun.
No. Oh, until it's. Oh, I see what you mean.
It goes 0 to 60. Like at 99%, I'm taking where you have your glasses on, you can just see the tiny little rim in the bottom corner. And if I take my glasses off, it's
too bright still.
Too bright.
Until it gets to 100.
Then
you can take them off for like a minute and a half?
Then I could take them off for about a minute and a half.
Wow.
And you just see a crazy corona around a pitch black circle, which is that picture. But that picture does not do it justice.
Right.
Like, the whole thing is dancing around the moon at the same time, right? It's just like a crazy fireball with a black center.
Really, eh?
Yeah, it was something else. Like, we'll go to the one in Newfoundland.
Really?
In 2024. Yeah, well, we want to go to Newfoundland anyway.
Isn't it 2046?
But 2044 is here.
2044.
And 2024 is in Newfoundland.
Oh.
I mean, we want to go to Newfoundland anyway, so we're just going to do it then. Go rent it. This time I'm going to rent a cabin.
Yeah.
Because there's cabins. Newfoundland's desolate. It goes through the entire east coast of the States first.
Yeah.
So I don't think there'll be a lot of traffic in Newfoundland, but at this time I'm just going to have a cabin rented in the path of totality, so we just hang out. Because traffic leaving was fucking ludicrous.
So you really want to... Like 100,000 vehicles, kind of?
Oh, probably more. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, and the other thing I regret is that I was within like 15, 20 miles of David Matheson.
Yeah.
But he didn't find out where I was going because we had pre-recorded that release.
Yeah.
Or he hadn't listened yet or whatever. It's too bad, really, because we were real close to each other. We could have easily made that a meetup.
But you did bump into
But I did bump into Garrett after we fought our way through the traffic. We ended up just camping on the side of some old dirt road the first night, or after the eclipse, because there was no way we were getting to our next destination through the traffic.
Yeah.
But the next day we made it down to California, met up with Garrett and his wife. They were great. We had a great time down there with them. He brought me some pretty out-of-this-world moon rocks and my Sasquatch hunting permit. And we became fast friends, and his wife and my wife became fast friends as well.
Oh, so that's great.
And it turns out they've got family in Montana, so it's about halfway between us, so we're planning on meeting up with them again.
Right on, that's great.
Works out pretty good, yeah.
And then other people in the chat
so we got to spend a couple hours with Garrett and his wife. Yeah, that was great.
We do have this perpetual chats going on. That's when we say that. And it's
Grimerica.ca/chats, I think.
/chats. And there's other people in there that met up, right? I think Adam and a couple people. And then
Adam got ditched.
Oh.
for the lovebirds.
Oh, yeah, right.
But I think Adam still had a great time.
So, yeah, people fell in love.
I don't know if they fell in love, but there's definitely some... We can say it because we could just say it. But there's definitely some sparks flying in the chat, so...
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe our first Grimerica hookup.
Marriage.
Yeah, then you have to be the MC. So I'm going to play... Garrett taught me a little bit of how to play the didge.
Okay.
This is my new didge. Got an extra curl in it. Garrett drew some pot leaves on there for me. Wrote "Take the Shot." There's some, I don't know what, the anti-vaccine stuff on there.
Are you going to play it, just stand back and play it in the mic? That's it? Can't you do the, the circular? That's...
Look a little disappointed.
Maybe I've had too many professional disc players playing for me. I guess you really got to get to that circular breathing, eh? Well, Garrett, I don't think you taught Darren any more than he already knew. No, I'm just kidding. I think you're out of breath. The first one was the best. So, are you dizzy?
A little dizzy. I had it going a little bit where I could start changing the tones.
Yeah.
But I haven't figured out the circle breathing yet.
Yeah. That's the key, I bet.
And I might still pass out.
Yeah.
Whew. Thanks, buddy. What else you got?
Well, I have some emails. I mean, we have...
Other than that, the trip was great. Oregon is awesome. Oregon's probably the best place. Oh, I should continue, actually. So Oregon's always awesome. Seaside's always great. I think that's going to become an annual trip for us, to just go to Seaside and hang out there. There's so much to see in and around there. I still haven't made it to the dunes, which are supposed to be just amazing. But yeah, Oregon's got a little bit of everything. High desert, forests, coasts, beaches, the high desert was cool. You'd get a kick out of that. And Ephraim drove out and met us, set up his solar projector, which was a big hit. We couldn't go 2 minutes without somebody walking by and being like, hey, what's this? I told Ephraim, I was like, you should just have a jar here. And people would just come by all day. And because that's what everyone else on the beach is doing, right? There's a dude building sandcastles, and he'll put your name in the heart for a tip. And, it's like that kind of a town. So, Ephraim's trying to set us up to show us this solar projector, and the guy literally can't go 2 minutes without some people stopping by and asking him a bunch of questions and looking at it. And yeah, it was pretty neat. The guy's like a little celebrity. It's awesome.
I'll put a link to him and his little projects in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to build one now because it was pretty awesome. He did a great job with that thing. He drove it out. We smoked a J and checked it all out. The kids got a kick of it. The wife got a kick out of it. It was a little too windy to really get it set, but you can definitely see watching the planet transfers would be something else on it. Because you watch it and you'll see, you can watch Venus come across the sun. You can tell it's the sun you're looking at, absolutely, because he's got basically a binocular pointing at the sun, and he's focusing it projecting it onto the back.
Is it bigger?
Yeah, it's like this big around.
Okay. So
And
it's not
you
like
can
one
see
of
like
those-
the sunspots and stuff on it.
Really? So it's
Yeah,
not like
cool.
a pinhole.
No, it's not a pinhole at all. It's like this big around. Yeah. And he said he watched the eclipse on it, and he's watched planet transfers on it.
Wow.
So you'll see Mercury or
Across
Venus
the
go
sun.
flying by across the sun. Yeah.
Any UFOs do that?
I don't know. You'd have to be monitoring. Actually, Ephraim, you should have that thing set. The thing is, it would have to follow the sun, right?
Oh, yeah. Right.
Oh, fuck. Now you've got me saying right. For fuck's sakes. I'm doomed.
That's okay.
No, it's not okay.
Couple of our friends had sightings that night, the eclipse night. Bill,
Did they?
Bill and somebody else, I think.
I seen you can definitely see the stars. I don't know if I saw stars, but I definitely seen Jupiter and Venus.
I don't know if it happened during, but like around that time. I think I'm losing track of my emails. I got to go back.
You have food in your
dig
mouth
up.
right now?
No, it's okay. Just
what?
I got to go back and dig through my
trailed
emails.
off there.
I'm losing track, buddy.
I know Michael went and seen it too. Actually, fuck, I have voicemails to play. Here, you say something while I dig up these voicemails.
I have the best super synchro. Are you ready for this one?
Super synchro?
Are you ready for this?
I don't think you can do a.
This is from Vic.
Synchronicity, it's time for another installment of the Canadian Third Party Synchronicity Rating Authority.
All right. Jeez, we listened to that whole jingle that time. Okay, this is from Vic. I remember him emailing in a couple years ago. I think. Maybe not that long. Hey, Graham, get ready for this super synchro. Sunday morning, August 27th. I'm listening to the biohacking episode with Tristan Haggard. I stopped as you brought up migraines so I could listen to the No Agenda live stream. So I started the stream and I hear you talking about migraines with Tristan. I thought that podcast app might not have closed properly, but no way, Jose. Grimerica episode 237 was playing on the No Agenda stream and picked up right where I left off. Mind blown. P.S. I hate to cloud the jury pool, but I am a subscriber, and I weight my outrageous synchro score. P.P.S. Keep up the good work, guys.
It's a little vague.
What?
Well, I don't want to know like the second to second. I wish I could pick up exactly.
No, it's just pretend it's at the same exact spot.
It's like he shuts it off when when you say that, and then pick it up, and you're saying the next word.
Come on. Since when do you nitpick little details like that?
I'll give him a fucking.
You have to swear while you do it?
Yeah, I fucking do. So it must have been on Sunday. That's going to be like an 8.42.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Should it be more? I feel like giving it more than that, it would be self-serving.
But yeah, it's amazing that we're on the No Agenda live stream.
That's
too.
amazing.
Thanks, guys.
Itself,
big shout out to No Agenda for that.
Big shout out to, I think it's, I wanted to shout out to that one Baron specifically, actually. Let me pull up his name quick. Because I think, where are we? Keep talking.
Keep talking.
What day is it today? Wednesday?
Yeah. Yeah, I got another...
How do I get caught up in this much conversation on this thing? I never go in here anymore. I got to spend more time in here. Sir Ryan Bemrose.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy, you want to play those voicemails then?
What voicemails?
You said you were searching for... This is what I have to deal with here. This is the short-term memory... Short-term memory loss.
I was just messing with you.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Oh, this is from Garrett, I think.
And this is why Darren doesn't read his emails from me, or probably even my voicemails if I ever left him one.
Not playing. Let's do it this way.
Hey guys, it's Garrett. So I just wanted to let you know the new website looks fantastic. And Darren, so we were supposed to meet up tomorrow. However, the moon serpent just showed up at my house. I guess it has something to do with the eclipse. And he wants to eat me.
Does that mean
I was told that I should let him. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And hopefully I will see you tomorrow. So anyways, I'll see you on the other side, guys. Have a good day. Grimerica rocks.
Does that mean it's his girlfriend's time of the month or his wife's time of the month?
I don't know, but she listens to the show.
The moon serpent and wants him to eat it?
I think you're over analyzing it. And you probably just got a dirty look through an iPod. Let me see. Oh.
I didn't know Garrett was into that kind of stuff.
The moon serpent? Oh, you should have heard the stories Garrett was telling me. He's lining up with a guest right now. Super spooky stuff. I'm going to try and time it around October.
Okay, good. Well, you have to
Satanists.
for September.
Yeah, great stories. What else do we got?
All right,
here?
well, this is kind of a scattery intro. Oh, you're not done yet? Okay.
I got another one. Okay. Relax. I don't know why everything seems so slow in here today.
This is Infinitely Felix from the Grimerica chats. I have a synchro which turned into a compound synchro with your guys' last show. So I'm sitting around with my friends. We're just hanging out on a Friday night or a Saturday night. Their names are Sam Carmis and Andrew Kelly, not their real names. So here's the synchro. I've been wanting to watch the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind just 'cause. And I'm like, hey, you guys want to watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind? You got it on DVD or any way we could access it and watch it? So my buddy Sam Carmis pulls out his little binder of DVDs, and I look through it, and he doesn't have Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I'm like, oh, I wish we could have watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So I'm looking through it, and we ended up settling on watching The Cable Guy with Jim Carrey. And you know how at the beginning of some movies, the filmmaking company will show like a reel of all the awesome movies that they've had in the past, right? So whether it's Universal Studios or Warner Brothers, they'll show all their really awesome movies, just little clips of some of the movies they've made in the past, hit movies. You know what I'm talking about, right? So preview of all their little highlights of the movies they've made. So lo and behold, we put in Cable Guy. We put in the Cable Guy movie, and the DVD starts, and the first thing that pops up for this film reel of all their highlighted movies is a scene from Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Richard Dreyfuss. So it was a synchro, and I've been meaning to call in and or do this message or whatever for the show, and didn't do it, put it off for a couple of days, and this was like last weekend. And then I listened to your guys' most recent show, and you guys mentioned Close Encounters of the Third Kind, so I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to talk about the synchro, because it became a compound synchro, involves the show. So again, that's my synchro. That's pretty much it. Have a good week, everybody, weekend, wherever you're at in the space-time continuum. And I hope you like my synchro. Peace out.
I like the voicemail synchro.
Thanks, Felix. Yeah, and
that's the best way to do it. If people can record a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Grimerica or grimerica.ca/voicemail, I think.
It's in the show notes.
It's in the show notes. And you get to tell your synchro in your own words. And you're going to get a better score if Graham's not telling it for you. I'm telling you, it can hurt. I'm going to go ahead and give Felix a 7.42. Now, I have one more. Last one, I think, which is pretty disappointing. Nikki, I was really expecting to get a voicemail from you because I know you watch the eclipse in a cemetery.
Oh, wow.
Did I listen to this one yet? Here we go. Ugh.
Okay, let me read an email instead, and you can save that voicemail for next week.
No. This is the voicemail segment. Why, what email do you have?
This is Infinitely Felix from the chats. I'm leaving this message to detail my solar eclipse experience. Details.
That's what I asked for.
Nothing too special to report. So I'm up here in northern Wisconsin, and we only got about 83% coverage here with the moon over the sun. So this past summer, I've been doing custodial work, cleaning a middle school, from top to bottom. And just so happens during the time of kind of the fullest coverage up here that it was overcast. So it was covered up, but I got to kind of see the tail end of it when the skies kind of cleared. So there's like a metal shop at the middle school, and I grabbed a welder's mask and went out there and kind of saw the tail end of it, and saw the moon shadow leaving the sun. Nothing too special to report. Didn't feel anything crazy. Nothing life changing. I know there was like a big hoopla across the United States for people wanting to see it, but other than that, it wasn't too special.
Did you cry?
My brother did call during the totality up here. He's down in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he left a message and yelled, "Solar eclipse." So I didn't get back to him until later and said, "Hey, saw it," and that was it. Nothing too much, nothing too special. Just thought I'd leave my details here about it all. Hope everyone has a good week, a good weekend. 2017 up in this. Grimerica rules, baby.
Thanks, Felix. Well, that's what I asked for people to send in their eclipse report.
Yeah.
But I really meant people from totality. I thought a lot more people were going to the path of totality. I really think, like, I've seen 3 or 4 eclipses in my life. And, there's no, like, last time there was one here, I didn't even bother looking. It's just, and now that I've seen a total, I won't even bother.
You won't go back?
No, there's no, fuck it, man. If it ain't
Once
total,
once you go black,
you never go back. The corona is too magnificent. You want to rifle through one more email?
Yeah, sure, just because it's kind of about this.
Pertinent?
Yeah, this is from Fires in the Sky, a.k.a. Janine, and she says, "Hey, Grambo, hope you had a happy eclipsing. It was pretty awesome here in KY, I guess is that Kentucky?
I think so, yeah.
Meeting Irliana, so she met Irliana, so it was awesome.
Hey, Synchronicities, that's awesome. Where Nikki is.
Oh, yeah?
I think.
And she says, anyway, the Universal Podcaster has been at it again with all the synchronous info, and I recently handed an interview of Robert Stanley that blew my socks off. His story and research almost exactly parallel what I've dug up over the last 8 years or so. I'm surprised I've never come across his work until now. So she passes him on as a suggestion, and she listed a couple podcasts that he's on. Oh, he talks about wolfins.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. He describes them like Numo, the amphibious shape-shifting parent race of the humanoid as told in Dogon lore.
Ooh, Laird could probably help us about that.
Yeah.
I seen Laird and Randall arguing on Facebook. Not really arguing. Laird was trying to argue, and then Randall's got a lot of support out there.
Oh, yeah.
You can see it building so much that, he doesn't even have to deal with trolls in his comments because all his supporters will just, and I'm not calling Laird a troll at all. Laird, I think, just got caught up in it. That they just won't put up with.
Put up with what?
With people calling Randall wrong.
Oh.
Which is probably a problem. He's got a little army of supporters.
Who's calling Randall wrong?
Laird.
Wow, on what?
Randall was posting something about hurricanes and intensity of hurricanes because they're, the first thing that the global warming people do is jump on it's because of global warming. Yeah. And so Randall just posts a thing of the last 100 years or whatever, or I can't remember. I'm paraphrasing obviously, but all these amount to hurricanes and hurricanes above a certain knottage and blah, blah, blah. And post this graph for a couple thousand years or whatever, as long as we've got data for it. And they're all like equaling out. And Randall's just saying you can't use the money as a thing because it's no question that with inflation and technology and everything else, the damage is just going to keep getting higher and higher and higher and higher.
Right.
Whereas in 1900, if a huge fucking hurricane flooded Houston,
it's not going to be billions of dollars.
No, exactly. Yeah. Or even in the 60s, or Yeah. And Laird was just posting pictures of the last 12 years or 20 years. People jumped on that right away, saying, "Well, how can you compare a history here of 10,000 years to, or we can't say global warming on a 30-year." Fucking thing. Yeah. We've got to look farther than that.
Yeah. Farther, as in thousands.
Deeper. Tens of thousands. Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Probably. Anyway.
We'll get into that in more detail.
It was just interesting because I caught it in my feed of
Yeah.
two past guests fucking
Yeah.
colliding on,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I mean, if you don't know about seeing a total eclipse, either think about this, that we know for sure at least 3 of our past guests journeyed. And actually, you know who else did is Richimon. Drove fucking 1,000 miles to see it. Says he's going to Chile to see the next one.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. Went to go black, baby.
All
But the other thing, too, is it's a great crowd, right? It's like Richimon described it best as pictured as going to the big game, the biggest game of the year, and everybody's rooting for the same team. That's it. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, guys, enjoy this chat. It's a fun one. Tons of great things on synchros, and start your own synchro walk. Graham's going to start his.
No, I'm not.
You're not?
No, maybe. We'll see.
Too shy?
Yeah, it's a bit.
We'll get you a balaclava.
He does a great job at it.
Oh, absolutely. We need a British guy to do it because they come off as more friendly.
Yeah.
We should have done it while Nathan was here. He would have been great.
Yeah.
Anyway, enjoy the chat, guys.
Noise you couldn't quite locate or explain. Noise you couldn't quite locate or explain.
All right, we've got Todd Acamesis here. It's from spiritualunderground.com, a human potential movement. Super excited about this one. Todd's been, he's a consciousness explorer, training people in astral projection and lucid dreaming and deep meditations, and he's all about the synchronicity. I saw one of his YouTube videos that kind of blew me away. So I've got an interesting story about how we made contact, but enough of that for now. Todd, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Graham. I'm really delighted to be on the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. How are you doing today?
Yeah, really good. Had a full day of clients coming to see us at our Mind Spa in London, using our various sort of devices that we've created for exploring consciousness. So, yeah, it's been a good day.
Mind Spa.
Yes.
That sounds great.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, we have a few devices that we've made ourselves. One is called Pandora Star, which is a brainwave entrainment device where we have 12 very high-powered LED lights. On one level, we can create very psychedelic, deep trance experiences where people can experience, very amazing altered states, from lucid dreams to out-of-body experiences, depending on the settings. We can run 4 frequencies with this machine simultaneously, so we can sort of experiment with very exotic states, very exotic brainwave states. So, yeah, people love coming here and being our guinea pigs.
Nice. Well, before we get to the rest of the Mind Spa services, we did try Pandora Star right here in Darren's place. Right,
oh, really?
Right, yeah, right.
I was actually
igloo.
thinking that I'm going to put Mind Spa on the entrance to my spare room.
On the entrance to your spare
where my volcano lives.
Where your volcano.
I love it.
So yeah, well, we had the guys from the Float Life. They were Float Lab in here, or Float Life actually in Calgary. They were for a podcast, and they brought the Pandora Star over, and we tried it with them. And then, they've been really wanting us to get you on the show, and I think I tried to make contact a couple times, and sometimes it just doesn't work. And then I got this listener email, a link to the YouTube video, and I watched this video, and I was blown away by it. And we'll talk about that video later. But and then I realized after a while, I was like, okay, I got to get this guy on the show. And then I emailed you, and I realized that you're the guy that we were already trying to get in contact with, and that we had,
that's brilliant, and
that we had tried the Pandora Star, and I mean, I loved it. It was pretty interesting. I mean, I tried a couple different programs, and Darren tried a couple, and yeah. So is that always?
It was a bit too much for me.
Was it?
Oh yeah. It was like, wow. It was like psychedelics without the love.
Yeah, it was like psychedelics without the psilocybin or DMT.
Yeah, we've got about 60 different programs, and I would be curious to know what you used, because you get different effects from different programs, and some of them, can be sort of throwing people in the deep end.
Yeah. So people are having pretty positive experience with these then?
We've got a formula here at the spa, which I'd like to sort of replicate with others like the float centers. It works really well because, like I said, if you throw people in the deep end, sometimes it can be good if they're ready to sort of do the inner work that goes with that, the treading of water and such. But we typically get people in from the whole business community, from spiritual communities. And we like to sort of speak the same language from the beginning.
Right.
And then from there, we figure out where people are at. And once we find that out, we can then sort of channel them down a direction where we feel will be a good place to sort of just push them right to the edge of their comfort zone. And then if they want more, then they can take more. But that's their decision after that.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tiptoe in.
Darren will tiptoe in.
Yeah.
And just jump right in.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. I was like, whoa. But I didn't.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
There was a bunch of people watching, so I couldn't be like, whoa. I just had to take it.
It was probably Acid Squirrel. That's one of our most powerful visual experiences, where you get constantly expanding and contracting sort of fractals and geometric patterns and kaleidoscopic color, and it can be very intense. Sometimes we have to sort of moderate the intensity of the light, maybe move the light away from them a little bit, depending on how sensitive they are.
So what are some of the things that dictate the difference in the program? Is it just the blinking, like the frequency, or is there other variables in there?
Well, first, the curious thing is that, that you've used the light. You as an observer, you will watch this white flickering light. Underneath the white flickering light, if you're the person having the session, you're having all these rich colors, which we've not programmed the light to do. We've basically just set certain frequencies, and your brain is basically creating all this communication, kind of like something like a psychedelic, like LSD. LSD gets a lot more of the brain communicating, bypassing normal communication channels. And the light, does a very similar thing. And that extra communication that's taking place starts to interpret all that sort of frequency, and then it generates all that color. So literally the brain is creating all the colors that people experience. The brain's creating all the visual stuff, or you could say consciousness is ultimately, because I think the brain is a byproduct of consciousness and not the way that, sort of science thinks the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting.
So, yeah, that's one thing that really freaks people out. They have a session, and then they realize that it was only white light, and they're like, wow, is my brain really like that? And so, yeah, we're pretty amazing. But yeah, we can from session to session, we can program the light to do different things. So if we want to come, like for example, here in London where we're based, it seems like the default feeling states for people at the moment, is stress, anxiety, and depression. So, people come in and immediately we might sort of put them on one session we have called Happy, which has some frequency states that'll really get them into a balanced sort of brainwave state. And by the time they're finished, they usually say very similar things, along the lines of, I really feel myself again. And that's really powerful. And that's really where we want people, because that's a great launch pad to then take people to other areas, because they're in that state of being where they're actually able to now receive. Whereas I think when we're all sort of blocked up, we're blocking, energy, we're blocking love, we're blocking, all kinds of stuff. And I think, even receiving sort of love and compassion. So we first want to get people back into that natural state of who and what they really are, versus all those, feelings, of sadness and depression and stuff that that's not really who we are. That's just, stuff that we, feel. Yeah,
that makes sense. There's evidence as well, right, that this this light flickering and frequency will affect your brain waves, right? Like, will it bring us to a different state, like theta, or will it help us, slow things down a little bit as well?
Absolutely. We have one of our favorite programs to use with people who come here where they say, you know, like, I've had my spiritual awakening, I'm really deep into this stuff, or we get like a Buddhist monk who, you know, have been meditating for 30 years and they maybe don't think the machine can, you know, sort of show them anything. We put them on a program called Tibet. And, you know, like you probably already, it's building a picture. So we have the light can run frequencies anywhere from 0.1 hertz, which is a sub-delta frequency known as epsilon, and that's 0.5 hertz and below. So the best way to describe epsilon, if you think about an Indian sort of adept who is capable of getting into like a suspended animated state, you know, you can barely detect their pulse, their breathing, you know, and that's a really ecstatic state. And then you get to the opposite end of that. We can go all the way through delta, where you have the sleep-related frequencies, rejuvenation frequencies for deep meditation. We can go up to theta, where you have like, you know, the powerful aha moments, hypnagogia, psychic sort of phenomena. Things like paranormal experiences can be easily accessed in that state. There's so much going on there, like the alpha-theta border. We go into alpha, where they do remote viewing, you know, focused, relaxed states. Beta, which is our normal sort of operating consciousness. We go into sort of gamma. Gamma is very powerful for cognitive stimulation. So if we had somebody come to the spa and they use the light for like every day for 2 months, on one of our 40 hertz gamma frequencies, it'll literally restructure their brain. Their memory will improve, their creativity will go off the charts, increase their brain processing speed by, during that sort of time, maybe by 10% minimum. They'll read faster, they'll be less distractible. We can go right up into the hypergamma frequencies, which are like 100 hertz and above. That's like somebody switching on and off a light switch 100 times per second. It wouldn't even register as blinking anymore with the physical eye. At that point, it's so fast. And our normal sort of brainwave waking state is usually around, you know, 16, 18 hertz beta. So, you know, that's a huge difference in operating speed or processing speed of the brain and communication that's going on. And we can go even up and higher to what's called lambda, which is 200 hertz and above. So that Tibet program uses the very bottom of the spectrum, the epsilon frequencies, and the very highest frequency recorded so far, which is 200 hertz, the lambda frequencies. And what's interesting about those frequencies, when you go down into lambda, very slow, you know, epsilon waves in epsilon frequency, and you get this very fast lambda frequency riding on those epsilon waves. And then when you go all the way to the other end, and you have that fast lambda, you get very slow epsilon, you know, waves riding there, and it's like this full circle of consciousness. So the Tibet program is really interesting. We get a lot of reports of people saying things like, it felt like I was floating above my body. You know, I just felt more focused than I ever have. I felt energy. It's really quite a unique program, and we like to put people on that program because it's a unique set of frequencies. The lambda in particular, most people, 99.9% of people, will never experience that frequency.
Wow.
What about the happy thing? Like, how far are you from being able to put that on like an app so that I could put it on my iPhone and use the camera to just like flash people into a better mood?
Oh, geez, indeed. Yeah, we're looking forward to sort of developing, you know, some more mass market stuff because, you know, this Pandora Star is really built more for retreat centers, float centers. But yeah, we want to get some more mass market stuff on the go for people to use, you know, every day. And yeah, that would be amazing, really, to be able to, you know, sort of walk by and flash a whole crowd of people and just change their brainwave state.
Yeah, well, kind of on that same vein, can you do the opposite effect? Could you make people angry or irritable or things like that with like... Yeah,
indeed. You've got, for example, let's just say all technology can be, you know, has a dual use. It can be used for good or bad. The U.S. government, as an example, has their own sort of flickering light device, which is nicknamed the puke ray. And they use it for, you know, border control. So they basically, if you're coming across and they flash this light in your face, whether your eyes are open or not, you're going to drop to the ground, into the fetal position and just start basically puking your guts up. They use frequencies which are known to cause irritation, to cause people to literally just spasm. It's horrendous. So yes, unfortunately, it can be used for good or bad. We exclusively like to use it in good ways, but all technology can be abused.
Well, even just the LED lighting, right? Even just our LED lighting, people are saying that the frequency those emit isn't healthy for us either. So now we're finding out, moving away from these light bulbs that were caused from heat into all these different lighting, all the artificial lighting in our houses is not necessarily healthy for us either.
Yeah,
no,
well, I was
because
thinking
it's
more
a bleeding. Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking more like if your phone can be used against you, Like if it could be subtly like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Well, I think in a lot of cases they already are. I mean, the refresh rate of, mobile phone screens, laptop screens is not the best frequency. And, it's something I think, the more mindful that we are of, the electronics we're using, the better. Because, when we're using things like laptops, mobile phones, already we're dealing with man-made EMFs. Electromagnetic fields, and that's completely disrupting the natural pulsed electromagnetic fields of the Earth. You take something, for example, like the Schumann resonance, which is 7.83 hertz. Mm-hmm. This, is a frequency that's generated by lightning strikes, on the planet worldwide. And if we don't get that frequency on a regular basis, our immune system starts to suffer. We start to get fatigued. We start to show other signs of illness. And, even on something like the International Space Station, outside of the Earth's atmosphere, no Schumann resonance. They have to have a Schumann generator on board in order to generate that frequency. So here we are in our big cities and, everywhere we have Wi-Fi signals, etc. And we're absorbing all these energies. It's creating a positive charge within our body. And in this sense, positive is not good at all. It's literally creating free radical damage. So, if people were to sort of just go outside for maybe 15 minutes, half an hour during their lunch break, if they're at work, take their shoes off, barefoot on the ground, boom, suddenly they're bringing a negative charge, because the Earth is a grounding force. And it's going to then sort of get rid of all that buildup of positive charge. So there's plenty we can do. We just have to remember to have these countermeasures, which, we didn't used to have in the old days, when our parents and grandparents were growing up.
Well, maybe I should start doing that after podcasting.
Yeah, you should.
Just go stand in the front yard with my bare feet. I never seem to be able to sleep properly.
Just hug a tree.
We're in a Faraday cage right now. I do some barefoot.
In a Faraday cage with an unbelievable amount of electrical signals bouncing around, I'm sure. Computers, Wi-Fi, screens, LTEs, fucking things, power. Oh, my God.
Dirty electricity.
Yeah, it's not good.
I do barefoot running, though. I've been doing that on Nose Hill Park. It's pretty cool. There's a couple of paths that are soft enough, and you can barefoot run.
I went to Cuba for 7 days. I didn't wear shoes once.
Really?
This is when I was drinking.
Awesome.
So what else you got in your Mind Spa? Is there other types of gear you have, or just
we do
other types?
We have something we developed called F deck, which is our frequency deck. It basically is some staging, some steel staging, which has some very sort of strong, sturdy boards on top. Underneath each board, we've attached these really large frisbee-size transducers. So basically, we lie people down on the deck. We put a signal through this mixing deck, and then the signals go through to the transducers, and it vibrates the whole deck. And when we then put the Pandora Star hanging suspended above the deck from the ceiling, they've got perfectly synchronized sound, vibration being delivered straight into the body, and then, of course, the light through the closed eyelids down through the visual pathway. It's an insane experience.
Oh, my God.
People, when they finish with F deck, they usually have to lie there for a good extra 5 or 10 minutes because, they've had such a powerful recalibration of their nervous system, of their body. Every cell is vibrating. It's pretty amazing.
I got to get out there.
It's almost as if they're levitating because of the the energy coming off that. So it's pretty cool.
No, you're in London, right? Downtown London, right?
Yeah,
yes.
That's too far. Isn't there one in BC though?
No. We got to make a trip to the UK.
How the fuck?
We have a lot of listeners. We have a lot of listeners in the UK. Actually, we call them the UK posse, and we're going to get some of them to come by and see it. This is what I want here.
Place is the UK, second biggest market.
Yeah,
which is strange, but it's so far away that we can't go visit.
So what about
we're going to be here a while, so
yeah, we'll get there eventually for sure. We'll have to do a UK posse meetup, and I always like to joke that the UK is so small that everybody should be able to show up.
Yeah, you can stick three of us, three of our countries within the borders of Texas, I believe. So yeah, pretty tiny.
Yeah, so no excuses, UK posse.
No, everybody can get here.
We'll just pick the geological center of the island, and that's the meetup. And then the next day we'll come and do the light. I like the sounds of the holodeck.
The F deck.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty cool.
What about musical instruments? Just even ancient ones like didgeridoos or crystal bowls or drumming. I mean, I've had some pretty crazy emotional experiences with some of those.
Yeah, indeed. We have a gong chamber, which is actually made out of gongs. We have 10 gongs ranging in size from a foot across all the way up to about 5 feet across.
Wow.
And we've built this pyramid chamber out of sheet metal base, which is copper, very high gauge. They weigh about 30 kilos per sort of square meter. And then we've got the actual sides of the pyramid built up. We basically put somebody underneath the pyramid lying down on this really cool bed that we've built, surround them with the gongs. That pyramid gong chamber is grounded to the earth out in the back of our spa out in the garden. And when they're underneath that and we're playing the gongs, the sound of the gongs goes through via the Vedic nerve in the ear. And it can influence brain waves, brain rhythms, the heart rate, the respiratory system. It's really quite something else. We have some crystal didgeridoos, some Native American drums, crystal bowls. By the time we finish with people at this spa, I mean, they come in, it's almost as if they're entering another dimension of reality. That's the impression people get. The mouth drops straight open as soon as they walk in when they see this big pyramid with the gongs around it. And then this deck with these hanging, flashing lights. It's pretty impressive. And we have virtual reality on top of all of that.
Nice.
VR, yeah, we tried that too. Which
what
one
did you make of it?
We
have... Go ahead.
We tried it pretty early. Like, we had, the first Oculus?
Oculus Dev 2, I think it was, or something.
Yeah, and we didn't have, a supercomputer or anything like that either. So it was a little, glitchy and stuff, but it was pretty fun. But it was kind of like... I don't know, we did it a couple of times and then sort of lost interest. There was nothing really, we weren't able to play any games or really get riveted,
Well, since then I've played on the Vive. My sister works for a VR developer who's made a couple, or an adventure game called the, now I'm going to gap out here and forget it. It's the Gallery, what's it called now, the Gallery? It's Cloudhead Games, yeah.
Six Elements, is that what it was?
Yeah, and you can walk around in this. It's pretty amazing experience. So that's taking it up a level to what we tried here, Darren, for sure. So how do you guys incorporate VR into yours?
Well, we've got some lucid dreaming apps which we're currently working on because we want to be able to, sort of demonstrate how the brain can be and the mind can be so easily tricked. And we have one program at the moment called a pit demo, where basically it's a pit which is about what would seem maybe 30 feet deep. And you put on this mask and you're completely immersed in this room. And there's this plank, maybe about 12 inches wide, going from one side of the pit to the other side of the pit. And a lot of people won't even walk across the plank. It's that realistic. And, it really goes to show how fragile, sort of our awareness of reality really is. And I think this is the thing that really excites me the most. One of the reasons why I teach lucid dreaming. To me, I think lucid dreaming and false awakenings in particular, which is something that usually precedes a lucid dream, to me is evidence that reality itself, is perhaps virtual. And So the virtual reality is one of those things where we really want to get people interested in, taking these inner journeys and starting with something like, deep meditation and then advancing into lucid dreaming. Because, lucid dreaming in itself really can open people up like a cosmic can opener. I think when they start having, like a shared lucid dream with a friend, and you both report back the same experience, this could be evidence that consciousness is non-local. I think when people start having high fidelity experiences where they're in their sort of a dream reality, which is a representation of their house, and there's physicality. This is one of the things that I think really throws people the most. They get into these lucid environments within a dream, when they become lucid in the dream, and depending on the level of conscious awareness they have, it can take on literally solidity. And that solidness of the dream can really frighten people. They can literally knock on a door, they can drink, some water, and everything will seem realistic. And then when they wake back up into their waking life, it throws them a little bit, especially if at that point they come out of a lucid dream and they wake up in bed, they get up and they're like, whoa, that was pretty cool. Maybe they journal it. Then they get up and they walk to the bathroom, and on the way there they might, sort of notice something like a glitch in the matrix, and they see there's carpet where there should be tiled floor. They're like, oh my God, am I still dreaming? And then they wake up in their bed for the second time.
Yeah.
And it really makes people think. And this is what I think the power of virtual reality can do as well. It can really demonstrate, these ideas that I think, new science, new physics is really starting to come to terms with.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's really important. That's one of the most important things. There's too many stories of people in lucid dreams either having really critical precognitive events or healing or just, awareness of something in reality that's actually there. Like you said, shared dreaming. I mean, it's crazy. So that's something that could really bring this to the forefront.
Absolutely.
What were you going to say, Darren?
I don't know.
The other thing I was thinking about the VR is we could even start incorporating biofeedback and stuff, right? Like getting your your heart rate down, or your blood pressure, or some signals that prove you're relaxing, and then you could almost force people into that altered state through physically demonstrating relaxation or that type of thing. Like, there's all these biohacking devices now, like the Fitbit and all these things that measure things. You could link that towards VR experiences.
Oh, for sure. I think it's really important too. And I think when it's kind of like when people come here and they use the light machine. We're going to be, we currently are working with a few hospitals here in the UK where they're doing the EEG correlation, where they can see the brain wave, is equal to the actual frequencies that we're using on the light. And I think to be able to show this to somebody, to be able to show them a before and after blood lab analysis to where, biomarkers are appearing, such as human growth hormone, an anti-aging chemical. I think it's really important for people to be able to see the actual effects that this stuff is having, not just on our physical bodies and our health, but consciousness, where I think really all of this stems from. Yeah,
that's great. That's well said. Oh, it's fascinating. I didn't even really realize we were going to get into this part of your work in this chat. I mean, I was sort of focused on your website and some of the other training you've done, but it's good to hear that that you're working on this stuff. So is this something that you can franchise out eventually? Are you looking at because if you need a spot in Canada, like we'll
Well, we currently have about 300 owners worldwide who have the lamp, and I'd say a good sort of 60% of them are exploring this in a personal way, and then we have that other 40% that are using it commercially, like float tank centers, retreat centers, Reiki practitioners, so spiritual practitioners. We even have psychologists using the light. We've made this thing to be, sort of research quality. We've got a few hospitals that are testing the light. So there's a lot of potential. And really because we can run 4 frequencies simultaneously. So as an example, a lucid dream is a cocktail of 3 frequencies, 3 brainwave frequencies. 2 of those are theta and gamma. And you have to have like that coupling of the theta and gamma plus, sometimes either a delta or an alpha wave. And you then get that hybrid state of REM, which becomes a lucid dream, being aware that you're dreaming while you're still dreaming, which is really cool. So, yeah, I mean, we're really sort of at the bleeding edge of this stuff. We like to, test things out, read as much as we can, be intuitive about stuff, push the boundaries, see where it takes us. And, I think, we're certainly interested in getting this out there to the masses in any way that we can. And certainly franchising will be a part of that. As soon as we've really got ourselves, a really great, stable, sort of like the spa right now we're testing in London. It is sort of a test for what's to come.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess people will end up doing their own thing. They'll be copying your technique in a way. I don't mean it in a bad way, but, using your, ideas and technology like the pyramids and the gongs and stuff like that. I mean, it's stuff that people can put together anyways in their own retreat center. I just love the fact that you're throwing all this together so people can go in there for all different kinds of experiences.
Oh, yeah. And we love people to look at what we're doing and sort of tweak it and do their own thing. I mean, even when we go down the road of, something like a franchise, we want each franchise to sort of have at the base of that, these technologies, but them using the technologies in their own unique ways, whether that be, something holistic or whether it's something more mainstream. We don't want to sort of, put the control in there on what people can do with it. As long as they're using this in a very responsible, compassionate, loving way, with an open mind, we're happy. Yeah.
Remind me, I want to pick your brain about franchising something else you're doing too. We never bring it up on the show, but when it comes time to talking about that video you did, I was thinking, man, those little tools that you use could be sold, and not in a consumeristic way, but just in a way to help people do what you're what you're doing with these groups of people in London. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, this is the Synchronicity Walk, which you're referring to.
Yeah, we might as well get into that. It's pretty cool.
Cool. So, all right. So this is basically what we do. I mean, I print off a little flyer. I start hanging them up in, sort of bookshops, alternative cafes. Sometimes I just sort of leave them on seats of trains and walk away from it. And It's just got like a time, it's got a date, it's got a location, and it usually says something along the lines of take a spontaneous walk across London with your intuition as your guide. Be open to having your path nudged at just the right moments to experience powerful synchronicities. And what's curious, people show up, people I don't even know, 30, 40 people on a night. And I usually do this during a weeknight after work because that's when people are really in need of a recalibration of their nervous system, of their thoughts, of their feelings. So that's when I do it. So people show up and they typically ask, the same thing. What's the plan? And the first thing I do is I sort of say that there is no plan. We have these dice, and we roll the dice, and the dice decides which direction we go. So we're literally letting go of all control, giving the control over to the dice. We choose like a group number at the very beginning. We roll the dice to get one number, and then we sort of follow that number intuitively throughout the night. Which works, exceedingly well. So, if the number comes up organically, then we follow it. If it has meaning, then we follow it. Say, for example, if we roll the number 4, and the moment we roll that, the number 4 bus starts to pass. We either follow the bus immediately, or if the bus stops at the bus stop, we all pile onto the bus and just, then roll the dice again. And if it's like a 5, then we'll go 5 bus stops before we get off again. And the idea is to literally relinquish all control so we can get deep down the rabbit hole of synchronicity where we can start to experience realities within realities. And that's when it really starts getting interesting. Yeah. Because, for example, if we roll the dice and suddenly we're on a bus, first people might be a little bit nervous. The fear mind gets activated, and they might think things like, oh, my God, I have no idea where this bus is going to go. This could go anywhere. I hope we don't roll a 9. I hope it's a low number. And at the beginning, it can be like this because, we're so used to controlling every aspect of our lives, especially, areas where, we don't, I think to some degree, we don't like to feel out of control. We don't like to, to sort of feel helpless. So we're very controlling. But I find through being controlling, we miss a lot of opportunities in life. We sort of have our preferences, we have our assumptions, etc. And all of that can sort of keep us in the box, keep us within our comfort zones. And these walks really do sort of open things up. And people are sort of fearful in the beginning, but they get more relaxed once these big back-to-back synchronicities start to occur. And, like on one occasion, we did roll a number 4, and, a number 4 bus literally just came around a corner. And I said, okay, look, let's get on the bus. As we got on the bus, it started to rain, and we were dry. And that was perfect. And that was one synchronicity in itself. And I said to people, think about this. There's like a trickster side to synchronicity. When we're taking ourselves too seriously, it reminds us to laugh. It reminds us to let go a little bit. So if we would have been fearful about getting on the bus and we let the bus go by, we'd have then got wet. So because we trusted our instincts, we got on the bus. We then rolled the dice. We did get a number 9. So we went 9 stops. I kid you not, when we started to get off the bus, it stopped raining. So it was, again, perfectly timed. And as soon as we get off this bus, there's a sign right there plastered on the wall that read, "Wait here for further instructions." It was like it was scripted, and people were literally, their jaws are just wide open, and they just, they're, by that stage, they have to let go of the doubt. And the doubt is usually what spins us out, and what keeps us in, that comfort zone. But the doubt, by that time, when things like that happen, you have to start letting it go. You have to start sort of getting into that deep place of trust, that we can sort of stay in this flow state, because that's ultimately what's happening when we're on these walks. It's synchronicity is a component of everything that we experience in life, which becomes, really noticeable when we're in this state of consciousness known as the flow state. And when we enter a flow state during a synchronicity walk, and we trust we can remain in that flow for like an indefinite period, we'll experience these back-to-back synchronicities, like a cascade of synchronistic events, which will then lead us into like a really deep rabbit hole. And I like to see that as like an elevated state of spirituality where then anything can happen.
Yeah, and you got to stay in the moment the whole time, right? So you have all these people that are focused on the moment. They're not thinking about, what's going on at home, or they're not this and that. In order to intuitively catch all this stuff, you have to be present the whole time.
You do, and you've just nailed it. It's that presence which makes such a difference in our lives. That's the recalibration that's taken place. And I think, when people are being really present with themselves, really present with their lives, the quality of their existence improves drastically, because, then we're not projecting so easily. We're not projecting our stuff onto other people. We're not compressing feelings into our body. We're really sort of, allowing ourselves to pay attention. And I think when we're paying attention, we start to see that, all of reality is communicating with us. The video you watched, for example, I don't know if you got to the teaser trailer for part 2, which is only 3 minutes long. There was a bit there that demonstrated how quickly we got into a flow state. My partner Sky was walking a little bit further ahead. We just rolled the dice that say, there's one of the facets of the dice that says, follow the white rabbit. And a white rabbit is basically a stranger. So if you can imagine, in London, we've got 8 million people living here, and we roll these dice, and suddenly the follow the white rabbit die comes up. The other die will be a regular, 6-sided number dice, and if it sort of rolled at the same time in number 3, then we would basically follow the white rabbit for 3 minutes. And the idea is that we would pick somebody that really looks like they have purpose, somebody that really stands out, and then we would follow them for that bit of time. We do our best to be respectful and not sort of crowd people. We don't
make a scene.
Want them to exactly. We don't want to be seen as stalkers.
There he is.
Exactly. So on this particular occasion, the person we chose went down into a subway, and we had to follow them. This is being true to letting go and going with the flow. And then as I've got this body mic on and the body camera, and we've already experienced some interesting synchronicities with numbers like 3, 6, and 9 in particular.
Yeah.
I said, there's my partner Sky, and she was, like I said, about 10 paces ahead of me. And the moment I said Sky, there was this electronic advertisement sign that changed from the previous advert to a new advert, which is an advertisement for the TV network Sky. And then the word sky just flashed up. Literally, the moment I stopped saying sky, it flashed up. It was so perfectly synchronized. And it's just like things like that I think are constantly going on around us. And I do think that the universe at large, is, usually communicating with us. It's just whether or not we can see it. It's almost like that signal to noise ratio. If there's so many things going on, like we've got our 5 physical senses evidencing all of reality. And I think a lot of times, that gets in the way of experiencing, something that is, that can't be evidenced by the 5 senses. Something like these synchronicities, which in a sense, these are, we're dealing with, experiences. We're dealing with phenomena which is beyond cause and effect as we can be aware of it. That's a true synchronicity. It's an acausal phenomena that's not bound by time or space, and it's very personal to the individual.
Yeah, we talk about them all the time here. We have listeners always sending in their synchronicities, and Darren's got the third party Canadian rating system on the go. And it's pretty amazing. It is something. There's something going on. There's some sort of hidden thing there for sure. So do you have any, like, how did you get into all this synchronicity, and how did you have anything? Because a lot of our guests, believe it or not, seem to be on their path from sort of synchronistic moment or something that's sort of beyond coincidence.
Well, for me, I grew up in the U.S. I grew up in Florida, which you probably know is an old Spanish colony, and I had a near-death experience when I was 5 years old, and I think this is where it all started for me. It was a very classic near-death experience, bright white light. I had this individual came up to me that felt really familiar. It was like my IQ went from that of like a child's consciousness to, like an adult consciousness. Like the way I'm articulating myself now, it's almost like I had that sort of clarity of mind as a 5-year-old. During this experience. I remember then, minutes later, I guess, being pulled out of this pond that I'd fallen into by one of my brothers. And my 6th birthday was, I think, only a month or so after that. And soon after my birthday, I started having lucid dreams at age 6, followed by, out-of-body experiences. And again, I didn't really know how to articulate, those. Those are labels I use now as an adult. Mm-hmm. But I knew then that there was a difference between those two phenomena. The lucid dreams, I knew it was a dream. I could change things. If I was in, a representation of my bedroom, it would never be just like my bedroom. There would always be some sort of glitches. And then this other type of experience started taking place, which I would now label an out-of-body experience, where in these experiences, I was always sort of woken up from sleep. I would be in something like waking sleep paralysis, where I couldn't move my body. And then I'd feel like butterfly sensation in my stomach. Then suddenly I'd be standing in the middle of the bedroom, and the bedroom was exactly as I would expect it to be. No glitches, no sort of aberrations. And that signaled to me over, the course of months of having the two type of experiences that there was a difference. Something interesting was going on. And I think, like I said, even as a 6-year-old, when I had these moments of clarity during these experiences, it was like my IQ was elevated by, 100, 200 points. It was really quite fascinating. So my journey with synchronicity and stuff started at quite a young age.
Wow. What do you think that is about are you just connected to something grander, like the one consciousness, or connected to the what's that other word that people use, the library, like the Akashic Records, or is it just more individual, do you think?
You mean with regards to synchronicity?
No, more like your feeling of enhanced intelligence, or that just connected to that, that type.
Yeah, I think
intelligence enhancing light for the igloo.
For sure.
We could keep up with our guests.
So, for example, with regards to that sort of moment of clarity, I find that our nervous system, to me, this is the psychic antenna to what we refer to as the all that is, or the 0-point field, the Akashic Records. Mm-hmm. And I think if whatever we sort of entertain ourselves with in our waking lives is literally entraining the nervous system. So if we're entertaining ourselves with gossip, if we're entertaining ourselves with some really low quality sort of, at the watering hole, at the watering cooler at work, and we're just sort of backstabbing, and we're talking about people, we're shaming and blaming people and judging people. That to me is literally entraining your brain. It's entraining your nervous system, and it's literally sort of shutting you off from these deeper states. And I think when we get to this sort of mindset where we realize we're literally coexisting. There's two parallel realities coexisting here on Earth. One is a reality of fear. One is a reality of love. And I think we're constantly throughout our day navigating between these two realities. And I think, one of the best ways to really navigate those realities is to remember, if it's your direct experience, and I have to be careful here because I don't want to judge other people's, life experiences based on mine. I know that, we're all different. We come at this from different, perspectives, and I want to respect that. So I'm talking from my perspective here.
Yep.
So from my perspective, we're sort of tuning in. We have the opportunity here with, recalibrating the nervous system to be able to tune into these deeper states of who and what we really are from what I think. And from my personal experiences. I mean, I've been having out-of-body experiences since a young age. I'm 47 years old now. And, to me, I've got a lot of evidence that, we really are tapping into, deeper states, these super states of consciousness. Personally, I believe all minds are joined. I don't think that we can consider ourselves, like an island. Mm-hmm. I think on a deeper level of consciousness, literally all minds are joined. And I think this is something to really keep in mind in every area of our life because, if we're, as an example, keeping other people on the hook, we're not letting them off the hook, with something that they've done, we're kind of like the jailer at a prison. We can't go home. We have to guard the prisoner. So it's the same thing with consciousness. If we're keeping other people on the hook, we can't get off the hook either. So I think it's looking at this stuff, and ultimately this is what these explorations are showing me. It's helping me wake up more in our grounded reality, which is physical, the physical universe. I find that, when we're really being present here, then we obviously have more opportunity to be present in other areas, such in altered states, lucid dreams, out-of-body experiences, through remote viewing, channeling. And I think the more present we become, the more information is flowing through, naturally, through that psychic antenna, which is the nervous system. So if you're tuning your nervous system every single day to things such as doing breath work, you're clearing energy, you're meditating, you're doing forgiveness work, all of this stuff, which is coming from with love at the bottom line, it starts to really change, your life. And it really you start having a better relationship with reality. And, you're clearing space to where you can start to see that other people, who are having reactions, such as, some of the stuff we see in the news, the controlling stuff. We mentioned when we first got online, we were talking just very briefly, about political stuff. But I think, when our minds are very clear around, who we are as individuals, we can then start to look into the world and we can start to see, where the darkness is, and we can start to make changes because ultimately we realize if all minds are joined, and again, my philosophy, I think that's how we start to change our world. We change ourselves and then the world starts to change around us. And I think, this is one of the important distinctions when we're dealing with, spiritual sort of awakenings, understanding that, this is going from the realm of something, personal to now taking part and making a contribution, to this bigger picture.
Yeah. And taking control of your own destiny in a way, right? Instead of being trapped in resentment or not forgiving someone. You're talking about being present here and not getting into those states because it really is just a trap for yourself, right? You're only hurting yourself if you're pissed off at somebody else and you're holding a grudge.
Absolutely. I think you're right on the money there. I think, ultimately if you're judging somebody, if you're blaming somebody, if you're shaming somebody, it's an attack on you as much as other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just at a workshop on the weekend, kind of an inventory workshop about, your heart center and forgiveness and meditation and all this kind of stuff. And it's very similar to that, letting go of all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, when you really do understand how much that, this stuff hurts you as much as others, because all minds are joined, it really starts to accelerate your journey. You then start to sort of take responsibility. You want to learn about other people's love language as an example. This is something I learned in the last few years. We don't all sort of communicate in the same ways with regards to, feeling loved. For example, for a lot of men, our love language is like words of affirmation and touch. When somebody gives us words of affirmations, like, for example, our fathers, for a lot of us, men, when we were boys, our feelings were always picked on. If we fell over while playing football, it was just like, don't be a crybaby, get back up. So we're taught to sort of really, sort of repress those feelings because our feelings are called names from an early age. And I think when we start to advance as adults, to me, a sign of a spiritual adult is really understanding generosity, for one, is a true sign of a spiritual adult, where we give, we understand other people, we understand how they feel loved. For women, one of the dominant love languages is quality time. A woman wants your presence. Anthony Robbins, would typically say in one of his seminars, when does a woman want your attention? All the time. That's one of their love languages. They want to have that presence. They want your full attention. They want to feel that you're listening, that you have empathy. And, that's very powerful when we can form these deep connections with people instead of talking, when they're talking and we're on our mobile phones and we're like, but, ultimately we're only giving them 10% of our attention. I think people can feel that, if all minds are joined on a deeper level, you're not kidding them at all. It's in your body language. Most of the communication is nonverbal. They can see you not paying attention. They can see your attention is elsewhere. And that makes people not trust you. And I think when we're understanding that people receive love and feel love in different ways, and not just in the way that we feel and receive love, that makes a profound difference. And I think, all of this comes from us being more present and being able to pay attention. It's like we become an everyday psychologist.
Yeah. My girlfriend and I did that work with the 5 love languages, and luckily enough, our top 3 love languages were the same. So it's
brilliant.
pretty easy to work through when we're already sort of communicating at that level.
Totally agree.
Darren's rolling his eyes here. Come on, were you going to do that too, Darren?
I did do it.
Oh, did you? How'd that turn out?
Good. It was a good eye-opening experience.
Yeah. Do you remember what your love language is? It's not fluff. It's
we're all lined up.
No, it's true. What was your language? Do you remember?
Touch.
Oh yeah. Of course, that's the typical male one, right?
Yeah.
It is a very typical male one. Yeah. But I think it's that's the kind of stuff that everything that I teach. Like, for example, last weekend, I was teaching a weekend workshop on astral projection. And people show up for astral projection and they go home with something totally different, because I can't just talk about astral projection, where people are getting excited about going to other worlds, but ultimately they want to go to another dimension of reality and they haven't dealt with their own, stuff yet. And they want to take their stuff to somebody else's backyard, in another dimension of reality. So, I'm basically there throughout the weekend, discussing these deep ideas about, consciousness. And, I want people to be excited about being able to visit, other worlds and get their own validation that there's a part of them that, survives death and precedes birth. I think that's important. It's a conversation we just don't have very often in society, because we seem to have this fear of death, and it's a big taboo. And, this is an area to where, if we can start to have a direct experience of something where we can get validation that our loved ones survive, consciousness is, survives death, it's non-local. Maybe go and visit some of these afterlife communities before we die. Maybe choose a cool location that we're going to transition to at death. That stuff makes sense to me. But again, we need to sort out our stuff here. And this is, people are halfway through these workshops. They're just like, wow, this is, more than I thought it was. I thought I was literally just going to come here and learn some techniques and I'd be off, into the multidimensional expanse. But I think it's really important to sort of get to a point where we're living our lives in a very lucid manner. It's almost like the extension of a dream. If a dream is consciousness, and it's everything in the dream is us, it's stemming from our subconscious, and maybe the superconscious, then ultimately, if we can view all of reality, waking reality, as an extension of the dream, the more lucid we become in the dream, then, I kind of think that the less lucid we are, the more apt we're going to have the fear mind activated. The more lucid we are, we're activating the higher reasoning centers within the brain, which basically means we're tuning in the nervous system to the deeper states of consciousness beyond physical reality, and we're navigating reality in a much more conscious way.
Wow, that's pretty deep.
Yeah, we got to send someone from the UK posse.
Yeah, we got to do a field trip.
I love field trips.
So I mean, it's just fascinating because we've had
Gainer will go.
Yeah,
we'll strap a camera on him and send him in.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We're promising a good time.
I mean, you're very articulated about this, and we've had these guests on before that have had OBEs and NDEs, and a lot of times it comes with this great articulation or this seemingly knowable. You guys have this knowledge of, I don't know, like the esoteric and all this stuff, and it seems like it's coming from a download or it's coming from some higher realm. I mean, what is your like? You must wonder about how this is all set up. Like, is there? And I don't know. I don't really have a specific question here. I'm just sort of fascinated by the guests we've had on that have had your similar experiences to you, and they really come back with this, expanded knowledge. So when you talk about minds being connected, and well, how do you picture that being? Like, is it through a field like the Lynn McTaggart field, or is it through like morphic resonance like Sheldrake, or do you have any ideas about how the whole thing is set up?
Well, I see the nature of the multidimensional universe. Think about it in terms of radio, TV, mobile phone signals. All of them are being transmitted simultaneously within the same geography. Yet we tune into a specific radio station, television program, make a phone call. We don't hear the jumble of all the various transmissions at the same time, because the sources of the signals, the radio stations, TV networks, telecoms providers, they've all agreed to use different frequencies. Mm-hmm. As such, though all the signals are jumbled together in the same space and time domain, they're distinct within a frequency domain. And this is how I see the multidimensional universe operating too, in exactly that same way. So, the multidimensional universe is like a frequency domain with various space-time domains operating at different frequencies. And I'll just I'll say that in other words. So let's say, for example, we have the physical world. Let's think about paranormal activity. Mm-hmm. To me, all paranormal activity is emanating from this mirror dimension, which is the next frequency domain, the next frequency outside, the Earth frequency, if you like. So we have physical Earth, and then we have the near Earth frequency. So if you were to have a near-death experience, or to actually transition, through death, or an out-of-body experience, to this other side where we have what we call this ghost effect. Ultimately, a ghost is a human who is now deceased from the physical world, but is now residing in the next energy domain. Mm-hmm. And in that space, you have the physical Earth, which is like a backdrop, almost as if you're watching a play in the West End or on Broadway. And, the backdrop, the scenery, is like their backdrop is physical Earth. And so they're looking back into the world that they knew, but they don't know about the worlds beyond that, because they're totally fixated on physical reality, and they kind of get stuck. So all this paranormal activity is emanating from that next, sort of dimension of reality, which perfectly overlays physical reality. So you take, for example, physical Earth and this next dimension. They're not separated by space. They're separated by frequency. So if you were to suddenly have some psychic vision, like clairvoyance, mm-hmm. or suddenly you tune in and you see this other reality overlaying physical reality, both of them are basically occupying the same space, but like a TV or radio signal, they're distinct within that frequency domain. So you then sort of go deeper on other frequencies into this multidimensional reality, to where we then have what we call the astral planes proper. So the astral plane is just a term. Some people out there might get hung up on it. It's an old old term from the turn of the 20th century. And ultimately, I don't really care about the label side of it too much. It's, you can use whatever metaphors you want, because ultimately that's all we're doing. We're using metaphors to relate to reality.
Yeah.
And everybody has their own metaphors. Some of us take our metaphors too seriously. Sometimes, other people's, like in religion, there's 1,001 belief systems. And I think the same can go for spirituality too. So this is why I think it's so important for us to have these direct experiences, because while I'm relaying my direct experiences, ultimately this stuff is subjective. If I teach 10 people to get out of body and all 10 people go out and have an out-of-body experience, although they will enter these other dimensions of reality, they're going to come back with different stories. They're going to come back with different experiences. And this is what I find really exciting, because even sort of quantum physics is looking at our universe, and they don't see it as being an objective universe. They actually, I think, have enough sort of circumstantial evidence now that reality is sort of virtual. The objective reality model just doesn't stack up anymore, under those sort of ideas. And, so as an out-of-body explorer, when I'm pushing into these other dimensions of reality, yes, I'm running into future versions of me. I'm running into timelines from the past, parallel worlds where there's another, Todd existing with his life slightly tweaked from mine. And then we're having all this other stuff in between, like lucid dreams and false awakenings, where, it's all these probable worlds going on. And it can really, it's mind expanding stuff.
Wow, that's fascinating. So I do like the metaphors. They do work for me. The way you describe it does put it into perspective for me. And it did remind me of, I hate to keep relating it to something else, but like Nassim Haramehn's work of, like the fractal resonance and that kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting. So so you're saying that you go deeper on these other frequencies, like the astral planes proper. And then is there even more of a sort of a level to that, or is that, would you say, like proper being the base of that?
No, this is like that expression. It's turtles all the way down. You're literally dealing with realities within realities within realities. Like in the film Inception, they talk about dreams within dreams.
Yeah.
And it's curious where they have that time artifact where 5 minutes on one level is equal to an hour in physical reality, and then you go deeper into this. It's really curious, because when I'm having these out-of-body experiences, these deep adventures into what I would refer to as the astral, you're dealing with a completely different, time zone, a different time domain. It might still be overlaying, the same space as the physical Earth, but you're dealing with a different sort of time effect altogether. And I don't see from my experiences that the astral is the ultimate reality. It's kind of interesting. Like, for example, I don't really want to get into religious stuff. I was raised as, religious with Baptist faith in Florida, but, none of that ever sat well with me as a child. I like being very spiritual about this. I like, the metaphysics of all this. But when I'm in these afterlife environments, if, for a better word, religions would refer to them as heavens or hells. These are, to me, intermediate realities. These are the realities where we regroup, or where, between lives, or where we sort of start to get our feet before going into physical reality, incarnating for the first time. But ultimately, there are deeper, there's deeper dimensions. These deeper dimensions where, even physicality, like when you're on the astral, you can be in a city environment, a consensus reality, and have physicality, because ultimately, to me, we're dealing with virtual realities all the way down. We're dealing with virtualities where ultimately all these virtual realities exist within the one true reality of consciousness. And to me, consciousness is this formless, intelligent substance. The physicality it's almost like a rule set where, you've got this, like a physics for a place, but ultimately those physics can be taking place in the mind. And what I find really interesting is that quantum physics can actually sort of relate through calculations, sort of create physicality through calculations. It's fascinating. And, so I think, yes, there are deeper dimensions, and, there's, stuff way, way deeper than what we're currently remembering, versus even maybe being aware of from maybe never experiencing. But I do think there's quite a few aspects to where we do remember stuff, because if we were something before we came here, then we have the memory of this stuff. It's just whether or not we're in a deep spiritual amnesia.
Yeah. So the intermediate reality where we regroup is just one of those, let's say, levels, for lack of a better...
Purgatory.
Purgatory, it's interesting. When religion talks about limbo or purgatory, for example, there's a great Robin Williams film, I think it was called What Dreams May Come, where him and his wife, their children prematurely die in a car accident, and the wife, she's just devastated. She's, in deep depression and eventually takes her own life. And they have like a Catholic faith within that film. And so, the Catholic faith would say, okay, then this is what happens, with suicides. And she's basically,
Eternal
in this
servant
film,
of the
she's
dead, I think, right? Is that how that
Well,
works?
yeah, she's literally creating her own personal hell in her mind, or in this case, the sort of the limbo state. Nothing's forced her in here. No Godhead is like forced her down that road ultimately. That's how I see it anyhow. And there, some religious folk might get upset by that, but ultimately these are my beliefs. And I don't believe there's this, I do believe that there are creators. There are powerful creator souls. And yes, there probably is a God in the sense of, an energy that's, sort of wielded consciousness and molded it into sort of thought forms and created these realities. But I think it's more like deism, where you basically get this philosophy where this creator, it's creating for the sake of experimentation. And then it, gives maybe one particular reality or virtual reality laws to govern that reality, and then basically stands hands off and see what unfolds. Even like a law of something like cause and effect. What a great way to self-govern a system, because you then get this like-for-like effect across reality. So when we die here, I do think that our actions, our beliefs, our every thought and feeling really is the barometer. It's kind of like this magnetic pull to the next reality. Nobody's forcing you into any of these realities, and in all of these realities, there's opportunities for clearing this karma, as people would call it. And, nothing's going to be, from my perspective, from what I've personally seen in these environments, there's no, eternal damnation. There's no, sort of afterlife in one particular heaven where we stay for eternity. There literally are these zones, these territories, these belief system territories, as Robert Monroe, who was an amazing out-of-body explorer, would term it, where people are literally recuperating, or where people are making amends for past deeds, but not through these typical black and white religious ideas. I think that's very damaging, to sort of, suggest to people that, this is reality, or even the idea of something like, even the way science, might sort of look at reality. I think it's just too controlling. You have these twin narratives from science and religion. And I think we really do need people, sort of pushing through, having their own direct experiences and seeing where it takes them. Letting curiosity lead the way. Let that sort of, that sense of discovery, having those open minds to explore this stuff for themselves. If at first maybe one out-of-body experience may not prove anything, 10 out-of-body experiences may not prove anything. But, at some point, you're going to start building, you're going to start getting validation. You're going to start getting evidence, and you might get to a place of personal proof that you will survive death.
Yeah. We're all about the direct experience here. So how do you get some people to do these in OBEs? So you're training people. You've gone through all the spiritual work, or not all of it, but some of it, to get to at least a place where people are ready. How are some of the techniques that you would use to help people leave their body?
One of the chief things that I suggest to anybody, regardless of whether you've done that, that inner spiritual work that we talk about, I've got friends who drink, they smoke, they don't have the best sort of lifestyle, and they're having spontaneous, experiences, spontaneous lucid dreams, spontaneous out-of-body experiences. But I think ultimately the same with our lives here. We want to increase the quality of these experiences. So what I would teach people is, first and foremost, breath work. So all sort of astral projection techniques from my perspective, from my teachings, are meditation based. So the base of all the teachings is a meditative sort of base. So from there, I would begin by saying, okay, maybe go online, or go take a class in pranayama yogic style breathing, where you're doing pure nasal breathing. Maybe you're, in the beginning for the first week, 5 minutes of this breathing for this very controlled breathing for a day. The next week, it's 10 minutes. The week after that, you increase it to 20 minutes. By the end of the month, maybe you're up to 30 minutes of this deep breathing where, you're sort of breathing. I love it from the film The Matrix, where Morpheus and Neo are in the program. They're in the Matrix, and they're in that sparring program. I think it's I can't remember what they were doing, but basically Neo gets knocked to the ground by Morpheus, and then he's heavy breathing, and then Morpheus turns to him and says, "Are you sure that's air you're breathing?" And I think that's really interesting, because ultimately when we're doing this breath work, to me, we're not just breathing air. We're taking energy into one. Let's take a Chinese energy practice like Qigong, where they talk about the lower dantian. Mm-hmm. You're taking energy into this point when you're doing very deep breath work. You're taking an energy to this point, and then the energy itself, we can call it light, whatever you want to call it, these powerful transformational energies are then clarifying the breath. And this is then creating this powerful effect where it starts to bring balance to our energy system. Every cell, every molecule in our body, every pore in our skin is starting to bring in oxygen, and it's sort of being clarified by this energy. And to me, if you're doing this on a daily basis, you're literally clearing energy, you're building energy, and you're starting to create something more, because we're not just breathing. There's something I've started experimenting here recently. I went out and bought about $1,000 worth of ghost hunting gear, not to hunt ghosts, but to hunt myself in the out of body state. So what I've done is there's one meter, which is called a REM pod, and it basically generates its own electromagnetic field around the device, about maybe a couple inches around the device. And the theory is, if a ghost, which is a non-physical human from our perspective, so they've died, they've got trapped in one of these other levels, if their energy field interacts or breaks into the energy field of this device, then the alarm sounds, these lights go off. It's really quite interesting. So what I've done is I've bought one of these. I set it like on a table, maybe 10 feet away from me while I'm doing my out-of-body practice, lying on the sofa. And the idea is I want to roll out of my body, and I want to be able to go over there, and I then want to sort of wave my arms through the energy field of this device and then set it off while I'm filming this whole episode. So I've got all this different gear so I can start to see if I can capture evidence of me being in the out-of-body state. And, that's the type of validation, that I think is really needed for people to be able to, to sort of get beyond the states that people are currently in, such as the depression, the anxiety, the stress, where they're feeling the pressure of the world. They're feeling very isolated, very low, very, sad. And I think it's because they're feeling so disconnected. They're not feeling a connection with other people, whether they're blocking it or whether it's being blocked. So ultimately, the breathing practice can really bring about, so much, not just reconnecting you. It's almost like it's creating this conscious bridge between your physical body and your energy body, or all that you are, your astral body. These it's almost like we have these nested energy forms, and the physical body is what we're conditioned to. It's our it's based within our grounded reality. And when we have dreams, we have what I would refer to as the dream body. When we're having an astral experience, we're dealing with an astral body. But again, these are just metaphors, and I don't expect people to get too caught up in them. I don't try to get too caught up in them myself. But the breathing practice is a good starting point for doing this stuff. I find that just doing breath work, which is a type of energy work, if you do it for a month, 2-3 months consistently, maybe build up to between a half an hour and an hour a day, by the time you get to just that place, you're already going to be having spontaneous, sort of lucid dreams coming up more often. Your dreams are going to be more clear, vivid. You might start hearing things where before you just have fragmented visual experiences. You might start tasting stuff while in these dream states. And that's basically just showing you that you're tuning your psychic antenna, the nervous system, by doing this powerful breath work, because we're not just breathing air.
Yeah, that's very true. So then people have done a little bit of this work. They come in to see you, and then you can use some of those devices, or people will already be sort of primed for this experience.
If they prime themselves before they come, a lot of people can have some very, transcendental experiences. The light, will do what it's supposed to do. It's that human component that, is always where the uncertainty is. So if we can get people into more of a focused state, like a laser, like a lot of people, when they start their practice of meditation in the beginning, they'll find that their mind will drift a lot. Mm-hmm. And this is just showing where their mental muscles are weak. It's like our physical muscles. If we go into the gym, we do, 3 sets of, 10 reps of, curling, our arm curls, we're going to start building muscle, physical muscle. So it's the same with, when we're meditating. If our mind is drifting, we have to look at it as if we're going into the mental gym. Every time the mind drifts through introspection, we realize this, we then bring our mind back to our original focus, which in this case might be the breath work, and then that's 1 rep. If 10 seconds later our mind has drifted again, we become aware of it, we bring it back to the breath, that's 2 reps. If we've done something like 10 reps by the end of the meditation, we've strengthened those mental muscles. And people, with practice, can go from having all these distractions of other thoughts to getting to a point where they can have this pure focus like a laser, and then that's where things can get dramatically more interesting.
Bingo bango.
Yeah, that's amazing. So
Maybe
what do
you should just send Grambo over?
Yeah, I think the little fundraiser and all. It's not too expensive to go to London. We'll go for a long weekend or something.
No, one day.
You guys are more than welcome.
You're there. Boom. You get in that morning. You spend your day at the spa. On the red eye home.
Brilliant plan.
So what else? So what do you got going on in the future here? You've got your website there, Spiritual Underground, and your synchro walks and this mind spa. Is there plans for you in the near future?
Well, we like to keep things evolving as much as possible. So we usually have people who regularly visit the spa. Can attest to the fact that, we're constantly changing things. And I think that's important. We get into this sort of conditioning from youngsters to where we have like a bottom-up learning approach where maybe like something like a golf, the game of golf. We get a coach who coaches us for maybe 50 hours. And during that 50 hours, we get to this place where, we really feel like we know what we're doing. So we get to that good enough state. And then maybe we just sort of coast. A lot of times you'll hear people say in like self-help courses, they'll say, if you throw 10,000 hours of your time towards something, you're going to master it. That's like a half truth. Because ultimately, let's say the quality of your practice is quite low. Then, after 10,000 hours, you could be quite mediocre at something. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's always about this sort of top-down approach where when you've learned something, like, for example, if I teach somebody astral projection, they then go out maybe a week later and they start a course in Reiki, they can use what they learn in Reiki to make their astral projection practice even better. So all of these modalities start to sort of like bolt on to one another and benefit from, through sort of putting them all together into this and getting this admixture. So, ultimately to me, it's about, for us, it's this constant evolution. It's this constant growth. So at the moment, I don't know where we're going to go. I get visions every now and again, and then suddenly it's all changed. I mean, the people that are around me, some of them like to have, certainty in their lives. But I'm very much a flow state person, and it can worry people when you basically just sort of turn something upside down when you need structure. So we do sort of lose structure every now and again, and we just go off in different directions. So I don't know where the next thing is at the moment, but what we're doing at the moment is we're very excited about, and there's always a sense of flow to it.
It might freak out your employees a little bit when your business plan your business plan is just go with the flow.
It does work for us, and I think we do have structure, but I think it's a balance, like with anything in life. I think even with this, if we have too much structure, we're going to suffer a little bit. If we have too much flow state, maybe we suffer a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like like Anthony Robbins would talk about, the 7 human needs. We need certainty. We need to be certain that we can pay our bills. We need to be certain that people that love us have got our back during hard times. But we also need that uncertainty, and that uncertainty is that that spice of life we talk about, the variety. Good uncertainty. Somebody just surprising us with a gift card, for going skydiving or something, or meeting new people or whatever. It's just like that sort of uncertainty, can really drive people, connect them, and that's powerful.
Does that count? Does a little synchro that my girlfriend got me a skydiving gift certificate for my birthday?
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
I think that's
much? He must have known about it.
1,500?
Todd must have heard about it.
Is it enough for school?
No, it's just like a jump.
I think that's brilliant.
Either that or she's trying to kill me off early. Gotta go for another skydive.
Just keep jumping.
Just keep jumping.
Yeah. Let's try again.
That's another voucher.
See if this afterlife thing really is a thing.
It'd be good for the show if you could report back.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you can't report back, then I'm fucked.
So is there anything you think we left out, before we start wrapping it up?
I think we've talked about a great deal, actually. And I mean, I'm always prepared to sort of just, go as deep as you like. I mean, when I give talks, my favorite part of the talk is actually the question and answers part, because you never know what question is going to come up. And, I'm always honest with people. If I can't answer the question because I don't have the direct experience, I'll just say. But, if I have a direct experience of something, I've usually got something to say on it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, perfect.
So people...
Are you on social media or anything like that where our listeners can track you down?
Absolutely. Facebook is probably the best place to find me. I've maxed my typical friends list out, so if people sort of press the follow button, they can find me just by typing in Todd Acamesis. Acamesis is spelled Acamesis. I put up a lot of stuff about what we do at the spa on that feed. I put up my general thoughts. I put up some of my out-of-body experiences to hopefully inspire people. And, videos such as, the Synchronicity walks. My YouTube channel is a great place. If people go on there and just type in Todd Acamesis, you'll find me there, and some of the stuff that I videoed. So, there are plenty of places.
So to get on one of your synchro walks, do you have to just bump into one of your flyers on the subway, or is there any way to actually sign up for it? I guess
that's
kind of
one. That's one way to do it. I'm just really checking something really quickly here. Walk.com, seeing if one of my sites is active that I know went offline briefly. We basically have a website called synchronicitywalk.com.
Oh.
And I do think it is offline temporarily until tomorrow. It's where we have a plug-in fix, and then it's back online. And basically, it's helping connect people. Indeed. So we're helping connect people around the world to do their own synchronicity walks. We give people the guidance that they need, such as if they want to just use 2 regular-sided dice, which to me, is one of the best ways to do this. It's the tools I use most. We use an 8-ball sometimes, a magic 8-ball, to get guidance along the walk, as well as, some sort of psychic reading if we want. So they're great. It's just devices, tools to help us sort of let go of control, to enter these powerful flow states and go down the rabbit hole. But yes, if synchronicitywalk.com is not working, then check back within a few days and it will be.
Geez, if we used an 8-ball for a synchro walk, we'd just end up in the peeler bar constantly.
Or back in rehab.
Back in rehab, yeah.
Brilliant.
So...
Well, maybe we'll send Grambo out. I actually looked at flights real quick, and I think we can get him to London and back cheaper than we could get you to Toronto and back.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's our Canadian Airlines. Wow. That's disgusting. So,
wow.
So that's what I was kind of going to talk about it before we finished it off was getting that synchro walk, like getting it almost like a little game, right, to people. So they have because you've already created this, instruction manual and the dice and all that, and just teaching people how to do it themselves, right, would be a great little way to expand it.
Absolutely. I mean, it is really simple. And like I said, the dice is ultimately all people need. you're just nominating directions. You get to a street corner where there's like multiple directions. You take the 2 dice and you'd say, okay, if they roll a 1 through 3, we go that way. If it's a 4 through 6, we go that way, and so on. And people then sometimes are like, wait a second, you can't roll a 1 with 2 dice. And to me, this is one of those things again where if you're open-minded and you allow yourself to get into these flow states where anything can happen, you roll 2 dice on a city street, one of them can wind up going down a manhole, and then you're left with 1 dice. And what if that 1 dice that was rolled winds up with a 1? So to me, it's just always allowing, there to be realities within realities. And once people have their second walk, they start to get into that sort of mindset where they let go, they learn to trust themselves. It's like the GPS in your car. How many times do people sort of set the sat nav or the GPS, and then when the voice says, next left, how many people don't turn, the next left? We've learned to trust that. So it's the same with our inbuilt, inner GPS, our intuition. When we learn to trust it, we can trust it as much as we can trust our car's GPS.
Well, I love it. I love what you're doing. That's awesome.
Fuck yeah. Maybe we'll send Grambo out, and if not, are you coming back to Canada anytime soon?
I haven't been to Canada in a while. I think I was 22 years old when I was last there, when I was hitchhiking back from Alaska down to the Yukon. That itself was magic. But yeah, I'd love to come back to Canada soon.
I don't know. Well, if you
come
do,
on down, we'll have you in the igloo and you can lightsaber us. Maybe you can be a little more gentle. We can ease into it.
Happily, we'll use the program Happy on you to be very gentle.
You can help Darren tiptoe into the rabbit hole.
Into the abyss.
I've got my own recipe for happiness. All it needs is sunshine and water.
Nice one.
Well, right on. Thanks a lot for coming on the show, Todd, and for staying up late. I know it's got to be close to 2 a.m. over there. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is my favorite time of night. So, yeah, Darren, Graham, I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Right on. Thanks, buddy.
It's been great. Yeah, big thank to Isaac for starting the whole synchro off.
Yeah, and one of our emailers, I was looking for the email and I couldn't find it, but thanks to the listener who sent us your walk-in video as well.
Fantastic.
You should start a synchro walk here, man.
No, you can't do it. It's not a big enough city, I don't think.
Oh, we've done this out in the middle of the countryside, and we've had amazing experiences.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you really can do this anywhere.
Damn, you just, really, eh? I was just picturing, because, I mean, the London one is so perfect, because London, you could just keep going,
you could do 9 stops in the bus here.
Yeah,
you can do it in a totally different way. I mean, you can do this in cars, where you roll the dice and maybe you're following, you're saying, should we follow this car? And then you follow that car for a few minutes and you don't know where it's going to take you. Or even if you're out in the countryside, tractor goes by, roll the dice. Maybe you sort of tempt fate, roll the dice. Do you sort of speak to the farmer or you do not speak to the farmer? There's so many different ways to play this stuff. I mean, we've done it in a lot of different conditions, lots of different environments, and it always works. It always leads us deep down the rabbit hole in some way.
Nice. Okay, well, you've inspired me then.
There you go.
That's good. Right on. Thanks, Todd.
Inspired. Look out, world.
Thanks, Darren.
Okay.
Thanks, Graham.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Ciao.
Take care. Bye.
That was our chat with Todd Acamesis. That's like a Greek god name.
Yeah, it's very legendary.
Maybe in the movie Gladiator or something. Yeah. That was a great one.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Fuck yeah. I liked it.
Yep. Super knowledgeable about the astral realms.
Very articulate, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got a ton of UK posse people, so I don't see any reason why a couple of you shouldn't be heading down and trying this out. And tell them Grimerica sent you, and they'll let you in.
Yeah, start your meditating and your breath work now.
Or maybe they won't let you in, but they might let you in. But, go try it out and, report back.
And I'll put all the links to all that in the show notes.
If you go, that's a good way for
really
UK
cool.
posse people to get on the show. If somebody goes and does the thing, then maybe we'll have them on the show to talk about it.
Yeah, you got to promise to do the priming, though, the breath work and the meditation and some Qigong before you go.
Some Qigong.
Move that energy to your lower dantian.
Right on. Big thanks to Todd, staying up late. So I think we could get you there and back for like $700.
Not bad, eh?
I thought it was way more. Fuck, maybe UK meetup is doable.
You know what?
It would just be a lot of time on a plane because.
Oh yeah.
we'd have to like leave on a Saturday morning and be back by Monday on a long weekend. Well, you have more holidays than me. But if we did it next year, we could probably work something out. Because you'd want to go like a Wednesday to a Tuesday or something like that. You'd get the cheaper flights. Maybe a Thursday.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but then it'd be tempting to just go for the whole like 2 weekends and a week in between, you know, and then do the whole castle hunting thing.
Yeah,
I love driving around the UK.
You need a plane. Ooh, you drive on the wrong side of the road there too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
Jeez.
that's pretty cool.
It's already kind of scary driving with you.
And they're all such good drivers there. It's way different.
Nice. I like it. Cheap shot at Canadian driving. Anyway, big thanks to Todd. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Of course, head over to grimerica.ca/support. There's a bunch of different ways there. You guys can support the show. Anything from $1 a month to $30 a month or so. I can send you a custom one if you want. I can send you a custom whatever you want. But like I say, there's a bunch of monthlies there. The monthlies really are best. They help us kind of know where we're at. And all our bills are monthly, so that helps. But one-time donations are great too. And of course, if you can't support the show monetarily and you do get some value from the show, you can always give back in other ways. You can spam Graham.
Make some jingles,
which there's a ton of jingles coming in. I love it. It's like one of my favorite things. Send in your music. I've been able to play like a lot of original music from listeners on the show. So if you send in your music, I will play it. We do have quite a few listeners now, so it is getting it out to a lot of people. So if you got some music, you want to get out, send it over. And I don't even care what genre.
The still unknown relationship between what we call the unconscious psyche and what we call matter, a mystery with which psychosomatic medicine endeavors to grapple. In studying this still undefined and unexplained connection, it may prove to be that psyche and matter are actually the same phenomenon, one observed from within and the other from without. Dr. Jung put forward a new concept that he called synchronicity. This term means a meaningful coincidence of outer and inner events that are not themselves causally connected. The emphasis lies on the word meaningful.
Say, for example, if we roll the number 4, and the moment we roll that, the number 4 bus starts to pass. We either follow the bus immediately, or if the bus stops at the bus stop, we all pile onto the bus and just, then roll the dice again. And if it's like a 5, then we'll go 5 bus stops before we get off again.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Mr. Todd Acamesis a little bit later about synchronicities and all sorts of great stuff. We talk about his synchro walks in London, which are a great time. I think I give out a 10. Do I give it a 10 on this motherfucker?
No, I think it was close.
It was close. Yeah. No, it was a 9, maybe a 9 point something. It's a high score. Someone got a high score.
And then the mind spa. It's got the mind spa.
Yeah, that's right. Grabs a little wet dream. Didn't you have the mind spa idea?
No.
Anyway, across from here, we got the one and only Graham Caricature Dunlop.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, how'd you like your caricature? Head over to grimerica.ca. Guys, check out the new website.
The legs were too hairy.
Down at the bottom, you have our new caricatures drawn by the one and only Red Pill Junkie.
Thanks, Red.
The still unknown relationship between what we call the unconscious psyche and what we call matter, a mystery with which psychosomatic medicine endeavors to grapple. In studying this still undefined and unexplained connection, it may prove to be that psyche and matter are actually the same phenomenon, one observed from within and the other from without. Dr. Jung put forward a new concept that he called synchronicity. This term means a meaningful coincidence of outer and inner events that are not themselves causally connected. The emphasis lies on the word meaningful.
Say, for example, if we roll the number 4, and the moment we roll that, the number 4 bus starts to pass. We either follow the bus immediately, or if the bus stops at the bus stop, we all pile onto the bus and just, then roll the dice again. And if it's like a 5, then we'll go 5 bus stops before we get off again.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Mr. Todd Acamesis a little bit later about synchronicities and all sorts of great stuff. We talk about his synchro walks in London, which are a great time. I think I give out a 10. Do I give it a 10 on this motherfucker?
No, I think it was close.
It was close. Yeah. No, it was a 9, maybe a 9 point something. It's a high score. Someone got a high score.
And then the Mind Spa. It's got the Mind Spa.
Yeah, that's right. Grabs a little wet dream. Didn't you have the Mind Spa idea?
No.
Anyway, across from here, we got the one and only Graham Caricature Dunlop.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, how'd you like your caricature? Head over to grimerica.ca. Guys, check out the new website.
The legs were too hairy.
Down at the bottom, you have our new caricatures drawn by the one and only Red Pill Junkie.
Thanks, Red.
Yeah, and thanks to me for redoing the site. Have we talked about that yet? I think it's done now. It's done.
No, you can't search, though. Why is there no search on there? Every time I go there to search for stuff to put in the show notes, I can't even find it. Search button.
Well, then. I'll add a search down at the bottom.
My sister pointed that out, too.
Did she?
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone used that.
Huh. I know.
Except for you. If it's just you, then... Well, I can add a search widget.
Don't you ever search who searched for what on our site? Because I used to search some funny names just so you'd look it up because I thought you were watching that.
No, I don't.
Like Darren is gay.
No.
Or not gay. I didn't use gay.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. No, I don't ever check anything to do with the website. No. And if I'm actually sometimes I will need to because someone will want to know the link for a certain episode. And if it's back before I started making the links easy to track, then I'll just search. I'll just type Grimerica.
In Google.
Yeah, Grimerica something in Google.
That's a good point.
Grimerica, whatever.
Yeah, why search the site when you can just search Google?
Yeah.
And it's probably the first one that pops up anyways.
Till we get blacklisted.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure will happen. But that's okay. I mean, we're fully prepared to self-host if we need to. Luckily with James... We've got that option. If we ever get turned off, we can just turn back on. I know there's about half a dozen or a dozen people that have running backups of the show.
Well, thanks to all the listeners for supporting our monthly expenses so we can actually do this kind of stuff, right? We have fixed expenses in here